This podcast is produced by Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency. The Collective Us, an NMCAA podcast, focuses on inspiring you through stories of those we've helped through our programming or by linking local resources to community members in need. Join us as we learn about the programs offered through NMCAA and how we touch people's lives every day. Welcome back to The Collective Us, an NMCAA podcast. I'm Erica Austin.
And I'm Ryan Buck. Today we're discussing an incredible program that's making a difference for students across Northern Michigan.
Absolutely. The School Success Partnership Program aims to enhance student achievement by fostering collaboration between schools, families, and community action.
And here today in studio to talk about the program, we have Amy Cannon, NMCAA's School Success Program Coordinator. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And via Zoom, we have Dorothy Pintar from Northeast Michigan Community Services Agency, or NEMSCA, Community Programs Director. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
First question is for our newbie, Dorothy. From what I understand, you've been a part of this program a long time. Can we start with the basics? Going to give you a broad swath here. If somebody who didn't know anything about this program, what would you say? How would you describe it at a party or otherwise?
I talk about this at parties all the time, you guys.
Oh, nice.
Great.
So basically what the School Success Program is, it's a prevention program that works with and identifies kids and families who may be at risk for academic failure for any reason. So if for some reason you're feeling like you're not doing well at school or your child is not doing well at school for any reason, any barrier in front of you, we're not going to ask your income or anything, give us a call and we can help you remove that barrier. It's a confidential program. It's not income-based and there's no guideline to be in the program except that you are struggling academically.
Okay.
Period.
That's really engaging because, I personally feel that removing barriers comes up a lot. NMCAA's work, that you remove barriers, you get the things out of the way, and that's a real palatable way and inspiring way to hear about that.
Yeah. Dorothy, when we chatted the other day, you mentioned this program was developed after completion of a community needs assessment, which we've talked about on this show before, but this was completed by NEMSCA about 30-ish years ago. Can you tell us about the development of the program and how it's grown over time?
Yes, it was like 33 years ago. Basically what was happening is our department heads in our agency, or like our helping agencies or human service agencies, we're sort of seeing the same families and wondering like what is going on. So our community decided to do a community needs assessment. And what they found is that the common denominator between all of these families was school failure. So along with school failure, what they saw was like multifaceted, is that with school failure comes along chronic poverty, high unemployment rates, juvenile delinquency, domestic violence, teen pregnancy, child abuse and neglect, lack of parent education, and so on and so forth. So therefore, this program, this kind of common sense, homegrown program, the community said, well, I guess we just need to get kids in school, and how are we going to do it? So they developed this program called School Success. So that same group continued to stay together and say, okay, well, how are we going to fund this program? Because there was, no funding because there was really no program. So NEMSCA said they would house the program and house this person, which was more like a truancy component to find these kids and these families through a school-based kind of system. And these kids who were not coming to school, and kind of in a truancy sort of outlook, going to the houses to say, how can I remove a barrier for you to get the kids to school? So all the agencies kind of threw in some money to pay for this person's position. Well, it became so successful and popular. We had at that time 10 elementary schools in Alpena. They started hiring a little bit more and a little bit more, and these agencies kept putting a little bit more money in, because what was happening is then like the court systems weren't seeing as many kids, right, for truancy, or then community mental health weren't seeing as many clients because it was reducing those barriers. So when I came into the program, I've been in the program 29 years now. So I started as one of those people. And so my story, which this is why I love this program so much, because I've seen it grow, as we were getting those kids into school, and as the community started putting more money into this, we were like, well, now that we have them in school, we need an educational component. And that's sort of how my idea was, okay, we've got to start creating sort of like an educational piece, because what are we going to do with them now that they're in school? And so was the whole, like, we removed the barrier. How now do we help the educational piece and keep them in school? So then from there, we covered all 10 elementaries. Well, now that we covered elementary, we want to follow them into junior high. We want to follow them into high school. And then other counties got wind of this. And they were like, whoa, this program is working. So then I asked my CEO at the time, I'm like, hey, do you mind if I try to go into other counties? And John Slice at the time, our CEO, said, sure, go ahead. But, I don't know what school system is actually going to give you money to do this, because like, we don't have any more money to do this. And it kind of went like wildfire because they were seeing a difference in their school. So then I said, hey, do you mind if I go to Lansing and ask for some money from somebody in Lansing? I don't know how this works. So then he hooked us up with a man named Rob Kennedy, Capital Affairs. He has a business Capital Affairs, and he kind of advocates for community action. And he started bringing me around to all the right people. And we started first in the Department of Education, saying, hey, this program is working. We need to get kids in school. If we get them in school, we'll do better and more successful and reduce all these things of like, poverty and teen pregnancy and child abuse and neglect. So when I got there, the Department of Ed was like, no, this is not really an educational piece. So then I went to Health and Human Services, and that's really where they started listening. But then what happened is we also had a behavioral health initiative here in our counties, and they used our demographics from this program to take a look at, for our behavioral health initiative, a completely different initiative. And U of M, the Department of Social Work, looked at our demographics and looked at our program and said, wait a minute, this program is working. So they did a pro bono evaluation and said, this is a program that's actually working and like saving kids and helping school systems and communities. So I brought that evaluation down to Lansing, and in 2014 was able to find funding to expand to other counties. So I could go on and on about.
Well, wait a second. So that question when you asked about, can I bring this to other counties?
Yes.
That brings us to 2014. If anybody wants to do that math.
So here's the math. When I started, we started out with 4 people, and we are now up to 59 people. My budget at the time was $54,000, and we're at $3.8 million total budget. So we're in now 10 counties, and we started out in 1.
That's incredible.
Dorothy, you were just lifting the seat. You're like, where can we take this next? How can it be bigger, help more people? Now, I have to ask, the idea initially, 33-ish years ago, you've been with it for almost as long. Was it immediately successful? Because on paper, it sounds a little interesting. We're going to have people go to people's houses and be like, knock on door, why is your kid not in school? So was it successful immediately?
You know what? It actually was. And here's why, because we had a forward-thinking team of people that really believed that if you made it not so hard and intrusive for people that needed support to be able to feel comfortable and connect with people, it was successful. And I think one of the reasons why this program is successful, and when I'm in Lansing or when another school system asks, why is this successful? Why is this different? Is because we're not asking intrusive questions. We're making connections, and it's all about relationships. Sometimes, think about your own experiences. What is the biggest reason that you're successful? It's because you have a supportive person in your life. And if we all have some support that we can just trust, rely on, consistency, and I'm not asking, how much money do you make or what is your issue? It's just removing a barrier and being consistent, and that it's not really rocket science. It really isn't. And all working together that a community supports you and supports the program. So this program, everybody puts money into this program. We just happen to be housed at NEMSCA. So like our state funding right now is $1.525 million. So we're working with Amy and her team, and we're sharing our funding and finally able to go to the other side of the state because we're already in all of the service area here at NEMSCA. And so I said, would it be great if we could expand? Yeah.
That's your MO, expansion. I like that. And Amy, you have been with NMCAA since this program started here on the northwest side of the state, right?
Yes.
And how does hearing about the origin and the update, how does that inform and inspire you about the program?
It's really inspiring because I think that the community and the schools and the students and families really are kind of seeing this renewed need for this type of support. I know everybody wants to point to COVID, but it really was kind of a turning point in, I think, stakeholders of TCAPS noticing that, these students and families, we need more support, not just for mental health, but again, for those barriers. And we all need to be able to lean on each other and support each other. And I think that there really is kind of this renewed sense of urgency around getting these supports in place for students and for families and parents.
Well, you mentioned COVID. It seems like that just helped shine a light on it, but this has been a prevalent issue in all communities, whether they look affluent from the outside or not, ahead of that.
Yes, I think so. Yes. And also you see now that chronic absenteeism has really increased since COVID. And again, is that the cause, or was this something that was coming down and happening anyway? And now we're just really noticing it and those numbers too. So I think that the timing is really great for this expansion work to really show how we can add this layer of support.
Yeah. It seems needed more now than ever.
I've been so interested in this program since we had you on last time, Amy. And I remember asking, what does expansion look like? And I know at the time it was a very new program. Now, so maybe you can give us some insight, or maybe Dorothy, what is the natural expansion? Is it to go to follow these students you're already working with into like junior high and high school? Or is it to then reach out to other school districts or counties like you were talking about, Dorothy? What is that natural progression of expansion?
Mm-hmm.
So for us, what the natural progression was, and, we first had a lot of people saying, well, if you were working with them in elementary school and then you have the same families the next year, how is that successful? Right? So we are successful. Or if you have them in junior high or you have their siblings in junior high, how is that successful? Anytime you can keep kids in school safe and graduating, the percentage that they will be successful later on in life, it's 1,000-fold. So, that's okay, because the investment and the low, how much this program costs and the funding that everybody's throwing in is so low cost. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Amy's shaking her head here too.
Yeah, a lot of agreement.
It's so worth it to follow and help and support all of these families. And a lot of times these families are mentoring other families and giving back as well. I mean, it's amazing how they're doing that.
Dorothy, what does that look like, that families mentoring other families? I'm a little, that's new to me.
Yeah. So for instance, like parent-teacher conferences. So one of the objectives that we set is that increasing parental involvement in their child's education and community. So that is something we have to measure in this program per our state funding. So in our evaluation at the end of the year, we have to show that we did that. So you're probably wondering, well, how do you measure that? So some parents, just because of the situation and everything that they have going on in life, may not have ever really stepped foot in the school, or they had a bad school experience themselves. But with our home visiting and our connections and us gaining their trust and really developing that relationship. And then we can also feed information to the teachers so they can really understand what's going on at home and building that bridge. But they may never have gone to a parent-teacher conference before. And also, and the children seeing their parents come into the school, communicating with the teacher, now you really have a cohesive team. That's something that may never have happened before. But if you have a parent now taking their neighbor who has never done that before and saying, come on, you can come with me to the school. It's not that scary. I'll take you. This happens all the time. Or even like a Christmas program that a parent has never gone to their child's Christmas program. And trust me, these are not bad parents at all. So it's not based on poverty or income or anything. So anybody in our program, there's a wide range of, people, doctors' kids, lawyers' kids. It doesn't matter. It's just if you're struggling, they could be super busy. But they may never have gone to one of their kids' Christmas parties, but they now may bring their neighbor with them saying, I'm comfortable with the school now. I know my school success liaison is going to be there and show me where to sit. So
Wow.
it's really doing
That's
all
so
of those
interesting.
things.
Yeah, and how maybe your parents' absence at school events would affect you as a child negatively, and seeing them there gives positive connections to school, to every.
Yeah.
Wow, what a little.
Yeah. I know it's just
Thank you for that example. That
Yeah.
really helped me quite a
Yeah,
bit.
same. Amy, at NMCAA, we currently serve elementary students in select Traverse City schools. Can you tell us which schools we're a part of again?
Yes, we are at 4 elementary schools right now. So it's Blair Elementary, Central Grade, Long Lake, and Traverse Heights.
Okay. And how many students are we currently, what does our caseload look like as far as students? Do you know that number?
Yeah, so right now, I think we're right at about 20 total, but there's a lot kind of in the works, a lot of
Okay.
referrals that we're working on. And yes,
Okay,
so yep.
Great.
And conversely, NEMSCA has 32 school sites across 9 counties.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's great.
amazing.
And serves students K through 12. Do we have the total number of students NEMSCA served over the last program year? Is that too wild to ask?
I think we have 922 formally. So there's a difference between formal cases and informal cases.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
can you tell us about that?
Formal cases are when you have the parent signing the action plan, and the parent has a role in this plan as well. So you have an action plan and you're following the action plan. And so that's more of a kind of an intensive case than an informal, which was like 6,938 kids
Wow.
across. And that is, you may be doing kind of some check-in and check-outs with kids. You're seeing that student probably once or twice a week, but maybe not an intensive with the parent. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And Amy, you know this, and your team knows this too. There's a lot of behind the scenes that this program does than just run a formal and an informal case.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That makes sense. And you talked about this a little bit, but is there a certain criteria? You said it's a broad, diverse population of students, but who's eligible for the program?
Anybody is eligible for the program on a referral basis. So here's what happens. So if a student is referred to us, and anybody can refer a student, it could be a teacher, a parent, a school success staff, a student themselves. But
Oh, really? Is that the case? A student can...
Yeah, sure. They could come in. But what happens is we ultimately, that school success liaison they'll do like an investigatory phase state, and they take a look at it and kind of investigate the situation and say, gosh, they're really appropriate for this program. Or maybe they need more therapy, or maybe they need more intense, or maybe just informal. So they'll really look at the situation, but we will always take a look at it, take a look at the referral, talk to some people, maybe bring some people together, but we'll always look at it and either refer out or take the case on.
Wow, that's amazing. So we've talked a little bit about barriers too, right? So Amy, what are some of the biggest challenges that you're seeing students facing today? What are some of the reasons that they're being referred to the school success program?
Oh, that's a good question. One thing that I think the schools in general are just seeing an increase in kind of just these kind of frequent intense behaviors, kind of emotional dysregulation, a lot of social emotional skills work. I mentioned chronic absenteeism is pretty high just across the board right now. So attendance is definitely a concern that schools have right now. As far as some other barriers, mental health services and access to that, something that we're seeing a lot of difficulty with, which that one's a little bit tough as I mean, there's only so many providers, and there's, of course, insurance issues and just availability and wait lists and navigation. But that can be really tough for parents that are dealing with their kiddo that needs, that mental health support outside of school. So that's a big one. We do see need for even just primary care, like dental work, a kid that needs glasses, things like that.
Sure.
So a lot of navigating community resources, it can be really tough to do that. And so that is something that we've been helping with too.
Yeah. As you just said that, I'm just, imagining like a student in, you say third grade, right? And they can't see.
I can't see.
But
yeah,
they can't, but they don't know how to tell like you, like,
Yes.
hey, I can't see the
Yes.
board.
Mhm.
And that's why they're struggling. Like that's
I'm lingering on that in this moment right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And I
Wow.
think that
Staggering.
one really big strength of this program is it is collaborative. And so if a liaison gets a referral, we are going to make sure that we get input from all of the involved parties, including the student, as to, what is going on, what can we help with, what are the concerns. And I think sometimes we're in K through 5 schools. And so I think it's easy to kind of get input from all the adults in the situation
Yeah.
and we forget about the student. And so even though they're younger, it's really important to get that feedback directly from the student
Yeah,
of what
yeah.
is their perception of the difficulty that they're having.
Yeah.
Are
That's
some
a
of
great
these
point.
difficulties, Dorothy, similar on the NEMSCA side of things as far as challenges the students are facing?
Oh, yes, definitely. I mean, a lot of it too is, parent crisis. If their parents' basic needs aren't met, the kids are going to struggle. And so that's why we do have these home visiting components just to see what's going on at home and what can we do here to help you to help your child. But one of the things that, we talk about too is the home visiting piece is so crucial and that we've developed something too. Amy and I will get there and have been slowly talking about this. So we've developed under the umbrella of School Success Liaison, it's called a School Success Behavior Tech. And so traditionally, because schools didn't really have another option when these behaviors occur, sometimes kids would have to be sent home or suspended for 2 days or 3 days. So we've developed this behavior tech program and we've piloted in Alpena and we're just going to pilot now in Joburg, Lewiston, but it's under our umbrella and it's a room where the kids are able to go and we have school success liaisons, behavior techs trained to kind of de-escalate the kids, work with them a little bit until they're ready to go back to the classroom. They're not there to sleep or anything like that, but to de-escalate, take a break and go back to the classroom and be ready to learn instead of sending them home. Because when you send a kid home, student home, a lot of times, the parent has to leave their work, which disrupts their livelihood. They may lose their job or get in trouble, or the student is at home alone by themselves. So we're also trying to, really think of other things that we can do to help with some of the behaviors and situations that Amy just talked about. So we're also trying to kind of take a look at our program and really fit it into the needs as some of these things are changing of what we're seeing in the schools.
Yeah, there's so many components that, like, I'm sure Ryan agrees
Yeah,
with me
it's
that you
wild.
don't even think about it. Like me as an outsider of the program, I don't know all these little intricacies, and hearing them, like the glasses thing, and the parent has something going on. It's
You
all
like to
those
think you
little
don't download your
things.
stuff on those
Yeah.
around you, but
It's really a lot to take in. It's like,
unintentionally,
wow,
yeah.
everyone's connections affect each other.
Well, we're just glad that people are watching this, and there's help,
Yeah,
when you're
absolutely.
able to recognize you need it.
Absolutely. So I'm going to take some time to interrupt this episode because we're going to call out some career milestone achievements.
Oh, hooray.
In December, we are celebrating with Kristen Ruckel 5 years.
Amanda Metler, 5 years.
Gilbert Glick, 10 years.
Mandy Ordway, 10 years.
And Michelle Haynes, 10 years. We want to thank each and every one of you who work with us every day for everything you do to support your community and your neighbors.
Congrats. Cheers. Now, I want to highlight, I think it goes without saying, this is a really unique program. And it's a third party partnering with a public school and a family. A lot of nuances, a lot of emotions, a lot of moving parts. So, Dorothy, can you pinpoint what is it about this program that makes it work? Is there one single thing? Two, maybe?
Well, collaboration and communication, for sure. So again, like program-wise and funding-wise, and actually knowledge and sharing that knowledge, those three things are key and has to be. And one of the reasons I believe too that this program works so well is it is housed in community action. So when we see a family that has multiple barriers and needs, we have community action in our own backyard. We have a very, very close working relationship and partnership with Head Start. And Head Start for us is so important because they see these families right away and they do amazing work with these families. So they feed us this information that we already get to know before the kids enter kindergarten. And then we can work with them all throughout the year and then already know what's happening with some of the families. And they have the information for us. So we can start with them and know those families right away and make good, solid connections and keep that relationship going. And then, like, if a family is struggling with housing or homelessness, we can work with our housing department and so on and so forth. And this is one of the reasons they created, I used to be the school success director, and then our CEO and I kind of came up with this, maybe we should oversee community and call it community programs and oversee all the programs and connect all these programs to one person connecting and working with all the directors of community programs. And this is why we feel like this works, is because we have this partnership collaboration within our agency.
Yeah.
And thank you for elaborating on that. You do make it seem so easy.
Yeah.
But thank you for elaborating on that. It is more than one thing. But I didn't want to not underline the fact that it is a third-party public school family. That's a lot to coordinate and make aligned. So again, cheers.
Yeah. Amy, we talk about how this program impacts families, obviously. Can you highlight any success stories that we've had over the past year or so?
Sure. So I think that with this being a new program, it's a process. So we, are getting to know the schools that we're in and all of the staff there and kind of creating some trust and connection amongst the school staff. So there's that component of it. The connection with the students that's been easy. That's been fantastic. It's great to see our liaisons in the schools every day connecting with these students. It's really awesome. And then as far as the families go, I'm thinking of one family in particular that there's a caregiver in place that is not a family member. And she basically, volunteered to care for this child as the biological parents are dealing with some things. And there was some issues with kind of anxiety, school refusal, attendance issues. And so we got brought in on that. And this caregiver just really kind of embraced the whole program and was like, yes, please come over. I would love, any support that you can give. And that relationship has been really awesome to see. Like, she'll stop and give the liaison a hug when she's at school, even if it's for, a concern or issue. And that's been really cool. So I think as we continue to work toward developing these relationships and connections and, just building some trust. And I think the more that we do that, the more success we're going to see.
Awesome.
That's a great story.
Yeah, I love
Hugging in the school, too.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what gets me. Because it's got to be hard for them to show that vulnerability, to hug that person who's helping them. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
And because you're working with kids, everybody needs to be or wants to be seen as an individual. Personalization has to be key, right? Because you can't just throw one solution to everybody. So can you talk about, because you're focusing on individual students' needs, can you give us some examples of either Dorothy or Amy, unique ways you've helped a student, had to think outside the box, or some inspirational ways that you enjoyed, that you were clever in how you helped somebody? Maybe holiday gifts or...
Go ahead, Amy.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, I think this is where the process really comes into play, is because it is collaborative. We get input from, everybody involved in order to make, I think Dorothy mentioned this action plan. And so the action plan is where that individualized component really comes in. And I think that, one thing our team is still kind of learning and growing with is that we can make a plan for a student based on all of this input, and it can be very individualized, but plan that needs to be fluid sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, so
okay.
this is our plan right now. Let's start trying these steps and interventions. And then we're like, oh, either that's not working, or maybe that wasn't really the issue. And so, like, let's pivot and look at this again and see, is what we're doing working? And maybe there's a different need there that we didn't see at first, or there's a different, tactic that we can try. And so, I mean, I think that action plan piece is really where that individualized component comes in. And you gotta, you have to get creative and maybe use some resources to come up with some ideas how to best help the child and the family. And I think another really important component of that is just meeting people where they are, and just, what is it that this family needs from their perspective, and not just assume that you know what's best.
And I really think I want to say, thank you so much, Amy. Amy has just stuck with the program. I do have to say, like, I started here in Alpena where everybody, came together, was super excited. It started in Alpena. So when it expanded, schools were excited to have this. And so when I hire somebody in Alpena, I mean, it runs itself because we've been here for so long. And how we got over to, TCAPS is Dr. John Van Wagner. He was the superintendent here. When he left, I said, if you ever need anything, give me a call. Well, he gave me a call. And he said, hey, I'd love to talk to you about the school success program. And then we brought Carrie involved, and she said, yeah, let's try it, because her and, Lisa Bolin know each other, my CEO. And then I interviewed Amy and knew she was going to be perfect. And it's not easy starting this brand new program where there was nobody knows anything about this program. And Amy has just been such an advocate for the program and for families and kids, and continue to say, and you have to, in this way I always say, and I know it to be true, if you follow the program the way it works, it will work. But it's not easy bringing, people on board and back, because it's hard. I mean, it took how many years for this to work, and people to know about it and trust it. So thank you so much, Amy, and asking questions and coming over to Alpena and watching our programs, and we're calling. So, I mean, a huge
Kudos to
advocate
you.
for the
Yeah,
program.
that's awesome.
Yeah, kudos to her, because she
Yeah.
was like on an island, it's an island for a while,
Yeah.
until you start seeing some of those successes.
Yeah.
It's not easy to do.
Now we see why her day was like it was up to this point.
Yeah.
That's what it takes to
Walked
do
away.
this. Make magic happen.
So, with that being all said, as NMCAA is still in the early stages of the School Success Partnership Program, what would you say is your biggest struggle right now?
I think that just making sure, Dorothy just mentioned it, that everybody involved understands the program and its purpose, and just kind of gaining that trust to let us run the program and show, why it's effective and why it's been successful for so long. And so it's almost this concept of like, just let us try, let us show you, and let the outcomes kind of speak for themselves. But it's easier said than done sometimes, especially when you're working within a school system. Like, you just,
It's hard.
yeah.
Huh.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's hard to do. But like I said, here, it's easier to do because we started here.
Yeah,
And
you're
then other
established.
schools, established. And other schools around. I mean, we have waiting lists still here. I'm opening 2 programs as we speak.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
That's
Well,
amazing.
that being said, do you feel like, all things being equal, this program has a better chance of success in rural areas versus city areas, or
Nope.
will it
can work
succeed no matter
anywhere.
what? It
In
just
fact,
needs.
city areas, I believe, could work even better because you don't have the sheer distance. I mean, it used to be, and it's close, we don't have as many buses anymore. But when I used to do presentations early on in 2014, when we had all the busing that we had in Alpena County alone, in one day, we used to drive the distance from Alpena to Disneyland in Florida and back in one day. So the mileage, and this is why one of the reason why school success is working too, is transportation is an issue everywhere. So, at least we could go to the homes and back. But like some people didn't want to work in a program where you had to drive so far to go on a home visit. So I think in a city, you wouldn't have to worry about hiring people to drive in an area like Alpena, which is huge.
It's like you had reverse success. Typically, people start in a
Yes.
city, expand, like you did it the harder way,
Yeah.
and you're just like, look how it works here. Just do it there. And it's
Yeah.
also worth mentioning, NEMSCA received the Governor's Youth Impact Award in 2023 for your dedication to youth development through this program. Dorothy, can you tell us a little bit about, because that's exciting for me to read personally, can you tell us about the award and how you gained the recognition?
That was so fun. Actually, someone, and it was actually two superintendents did that. They nominated our program, and the governor, Amy, was there.
Oh,
It was a
you were?
fun
I got to
theater.
go. It was awesome.
That's
Yes, it
amazing.
was so fun. I was nerve-wracking, but it was super fun. And it was last year in November.
Mhm.
And we were at the Fox Theater, and the governor actually handed me the award. And we were up there in a group with other amazing people and programs that also received the Governor's Service Award in the Youth Impact Division. So that was pretty
That's
amazing.
wonderful. And aside from that recognition and being there to connect with other organizations, a chance to connect with other organizations, how did you use that momentum? How did you, a lot of people get an award and they just say, a great picture for Facebook. Did you do anything unique to capitalize on that?
We did. We just made sure this is what we did with our evaluation. We brought it back down to Lansing, and I thought, here's what I did. I said, oh my gosh, the governor gave us that award. Now we have to stay in the state budget.
Do you have
So you know what I mean? We're just hoping that.
Dorothy, do you have an apartment in Lansing at this point?
I need an apartment in
you-
Lansing. Will
you should
anybody
invest
take
in
me
real estate.
Yes. Will anybody take me? And that's the other thing too. Going to Lansing and advocating when, I never did that before. But I'll tell you, you get good at it, and it's still nerve-wracking, but it's a must. And you have to have good data, and you have to have a good evaluation tool. And that was something that I learned early on. Keep good data and make sure you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and we started talking maybe about data more on the show lately, and I think it's important to know that all of these decisions are more and more informed each year. And you're not only being agile because you're smart and you're caring, but there's data behind this. So if someone were interested in learning more about SSP or donating to the program, either through NEMSCA or NMCAA, how could they do that? How could somebody who's compelled to support do that?
We actually have on our website, www.nemcsa.org, you can, when you get there, you'll see a little round circle, and it'll say School Success Program. You can read all about the School Success Program, see our locations, phone number, who works there. You can see our evaluations, our last year's data, any data, our truancy data, our performance objectives, our budget. We're all right there. And then as far as donations, you could reach out to me and I would hook you up with our finance, or we do have a donation tab for NEMSCA in itself on our website.
Wonderful. Well, we know that you didn't come here prepared for a grilling, but you're going to get one anyway. So Amy, this starts with you. This is as we end with some hard-hitting questions.
All right, I'm ready.
So, Amy, if you had one wish for the School Success Program at NMCAA, one wish, fantasy or other, what would it be and why?
I would love to see expansion. You asked previously about like how that would look, and I don't No, I like both of those ideas, but I think that starting with elementary is a really good move. This as a prevention focused program, I think really starting with those K through 5, particularly we've a lot of K through 2 students, and just kind of setting that really good foundation for them and for their families going forward of just a positive school experience. And how would that look if we could really start in every elementary with every kindergarten class and start supporting them right away? You know, how would that impact them going into middle and high school, and what would that look like?
Yeah.
And I think that would be awesome.
That's a great wish.
Very reasonable.
Absolutely.
Nobody's asking for magical things lately.
And
You
$1
know?
million.
There we go. Thank you.
Okay, so we have another question for you, Dorothy. If you could choose one spokesperson for the School Success Program, who would it be and why?
Oh my gosh.
You have unlimited resources. It could be
choose
anybody.
A celebrity. You could choose.
Could be anybody.
Oh, Amy's
Oh
got her
my-
wheels turning.
Gosh. Well, let's see. It'd probably be my grandfather.
Oh.
Because, it'd probably be my grandfather. I always asked, well, he always told me I could sell ice to Eskimos, but he said that I should be president of the United States because I could make the world as peaceful as I wanted it to be. But I don't know. I think that he believed in me. And I always said that I would retire when this program is in every school in the state of Michigan. And I know that he could help me do that. So I think it would be my grandfather.
Wow. What
That
a
was
great,
lovely. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was a great answer. Well, thank you both for being here today. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to be here and sharing your inspiration of this program with us today. It's so great to hear the great work that NMCAA and our sister agency, NEMSCA, are doing in the communities here in Northern Michigan. It is time for Ryan's Take. Let's do it.
Go to Lansing.
Go to
I'm inspired, and I'm not being flippant about this. I think Dorothy taking this to the next level and going to Lansing and making moves happen, that's the thing. I'm really inspired by this, and it's a perfect fit with NMCAA and what you do. But just in general, I think NMCAA are doers, and they do it for the people, and they do it for their future success and their current success. So go to Lansing.
Yeah, it's a great one.
Yeah.
A couple reminders before we wrap up today. If you or someone you know is homeless, please call 1-844-900-0500. Also, NMCAA is still taking interest forms for child and family development programs, including Head Start. Go to nmcaa.net to fill out an interest form today.
Again, thank you both for being on the show. We really, really appreciated you being here. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well.
Thank you. It was fun.
NMCAA is currently seeking volunteers for the free tax prep program. To learn more about that, contact NMCAA by calling 231-947-3780.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, please share this episode or the show link on social media. Follow the podcast to know when a new episode drops and rate the show. It truly helps us continue to get the word out on all the good NMCAA does in the community.
If you would like to become a sustaining donor with a recurring gift or contribute a one-time donation, please check out nmcaa.net/donate or send us a message at collectiveuspodcast@nmcaa.net.
And to learn more about Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency or the programs we offer, or if you would like to make a donation, we encourage you to reach out at 231-947-3780 or visit our website, nmcaa.net. And to the collective today, we encourage you to continue to strive each day to do something to help yourself or your neighbors.